Welcome back to the HyphenatEdDLeader podcast. I'm Dr. Rochelle Smarr, and this is season 2, Leading from the Margins to the Center. You're about to enter Voices from the Huddle, a special series within this season where we will pull up a chair with EdD holders, scholars, practitioners who are reimagining leadership within and beyond the university. These are colleagues that I deeply admire, people who are navigating complex, hyphenated journeys across all educational spectrums, their personal lives, and are really intentionally working beyond the academy. Each conversation you'll hear is a real dialogue, sometimes virtual, sometimes in person, centered on leadership practices, their identity, and multiple hyphens that we all carry. These aren't polished keynote speeches, so buckle up, buttercup. They're honest, vulnerable conversations where we talk about what it means to lead from the margins to the center. I'm excited to welcome this multi-hyphenated leader to the conversation, so please join me for today's staff huddle. I am excited to welcome Dr. Lucretia Darby to the conversation. We are actually co-authors on the forthcoming book, Black Women in Educational Leadership, Stories of Resilience and Achievement. And truly, after our author interviews earlier this year, I knew that I want to hear more about her educational story. And so let's get ready for this. Let's start this staff huddle and bring Dr. Lucretia Darby to the forefront. Dr. Darby, do you mind introducing yourself through your hyphens, if you can, and then just sharing a little bit about your identities in leadership?
Hi, Dr. Smarr and everybody out there. I'm so excited to be with you all. My name is Dr. Lucretia Darby, and I am a believer. I'm an educator. I'm a founding school leader in the United Arab Emirates. And if you're not familiar with that, most people call it Dubai, which is not the name of the country, but everybody knows it as Dubai. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a friend. Now I have the new title of author, and I am getting into the public speaking space. So those are a little of the hyphens that are associated with myself.
Awesome. Thank you. And then how do your identities show up in your leadership role?
Well, I would say, especially as a believer, I'm a Christian. And so that shows up in just my faith and my resilience and how I'm able to show my leadership style through serving others. My leadership style is servant leadership. And so I try to make sure I show up in a way where I am serving others. I really enjoy doing that in my leadership role.
That's fantastic. And then, as believers, we are following after Christ, right? We want to be servant leaders. So that's amazing that you're able to show that both in your personal life as well as in workplace. And I'm sure that's a good model for your staff and your colleagues as well. So the title of the podcast is Hyphenated Leader with EdD at the end of it. Tell me a little bit about how your practitioner degree shaped your journey, and why also did you choose the EdD over the PhD?
Well, I chose the EdD over the PhD because, again, I am a school leader, and so I wanted my degree to kind of fit with the role that I am currently doing. And so in my research prior to deciding which area I wanted to go in, I found that an EdD was most suitable for me, realistically, because of the time. And I know that PhDs, it's more research and theory based. And so I consider myself a researcher, and I think anyone who pursues their doctoral degree is a researcher anyway. But I feel that some of the things that I had learned throughout that journey were able to help me in my leadership space in the classrooms and in the boardroom, speaking with people and being a school leader. So, yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Let's take a pause back. Tell us a little bit about your educational doctorate program. Where did you go, and was it cohort? Was it online? Share a little bit about that, because you never know. Someone's listening and curious if a program might relate to them.
So I went through Tribeca Nazarene University in Tennessee. And so it was a cohort, and when I got excited, got accepted, I was very excited. And so I had been with this cohort throughout the whole journey. And I found it to be so divine because I was getting my degree while being overseas. And I remember our first Microsoft Teams call, I got up like 4 or 5 a.m. because of the time zone. Mm-hmm. And we were all in the chat as the dean of the program was going over the program. And so one person said that they were in Abu Dhabi. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm also here as well. So we did like a private chat on the side, and we connected. And I found it was just so divine that someone was actually in the same town. Not only was she in the same country, but she was in the same town, living not far from me. And so I felt like, okay, God has sent me someone to be on this journey to navigate this. But this was also a university that about 4 women that actually are abroad, that are principals or assistant principals, they've attended this university as well. And so it's a really good university, and you finish in about 27 months. So shout out to your
program. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought 36 months was long, but 27. You guys
it's actually a fast track program. Wow. So we were working on our dissertation and coursework at the same time.
Smart. I love it, because that's what we need as practitioners, right? Like, I can't stop and go to school. Like, I've got to be able to manage both. So
it was really fast.
But you're right. It's divine, because you found someone to maybe meet up with, do homework with, and in real time versus just being all virtual. So I love that for you. And whoa, I can only imagine waking up that early to take classes and all the things, but you did it. It's worth it. We're here now.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about being a woman of color in leadership. Share a time where you faced resistance or you were underestimated and how you showed up anyway.
Well, I would say a few years ago, I've been in leadership for 5 years. So a few short years ago, we had a transition in our leadership at my school. And so my principal was actually transitioning out. She had another opportunity that was really great for her. And she had founded the school along with myself and another school leader. And so she broke the news to me. I was sad, of course. And so there was a handover process, as it always is when people are leaving a job. And so in the handover process, I was meeting with the incoming school leader. She was very receptive to me. She kind of let me take the reins to prepare the induction and the orientation and kind of get because they were bringing in 3 new people. So I was the only school leader left that was a founding member. So it was 3 new people coming in. The principal, vice principal, and another assistant principal like myself. And so it was a lot to kind of process, because I had already built this bond with these other school leaders and just being founders and like, we started this foundation of the school. We were so excited about that. But change happens. That's life, right? So with that being said, this principal who was coming in, she welcomed me. She was excited. We were working well together. We did interviews to bring in the new staff, but it was a few months after she came in that everything literally just changed. It was so quick. My work was being scrutinized. I've never had my work scrutinized like this or scrutinized at all, really. It started off with praise, and then it ended with a lot of critique.
Yeah.
And
from her or someone else?
From the principal. And so, as we both know, as we wrote about in this upcoming book, sometimes when you are in those situations where there's someone, I think it was a thing where I was being underestimated, because, okay, yeah, she's good. She's got it, she has transitioned us in with the induction and showing us what they built in the last 2 years of this school. Mm-hmm. But now, she really is brilliant. Like, you're getting your doctorate soon. Like, you're going to be getting your doctorate very soon. Yeah. So it turned into one of those things of basically intimidation. Oh. So a lot of the things that I did, and I was over data and assessment, I was being told, redo it, do it over. Do this over, add this, add that. And it was tough. That was the toughest moment in my leadership journey to this date. And in true transparency, like, I just finished recovering from a little PTSD from that experience. Mm-hmm. It was very tough. So I overcame it by really, I had to remind myself of who I was, and I had to remind myself that you would not be getting these attacks if you weren't brilliant. Exactly. Like, you know who you are and you know what you bring. Mm-hmm. And so what other reason could this leader have to be critiquing your work are basically throwing your work back to you, or basically telling you no when you're advocating for the team, when it came to just simple stuff like staff well-being activities. Like, I was getting no for everything. So it was really a thing of a person being threatened by your brilliance. So I had to work through that and realize it's not me necessarily. I always say it's what's within me. So sometimes people are intimidated by that.
Yes, exactly. And I think as a woman of faith, it's because they see the God in you and are just like, wait a minute, you got too much favor. It does not adding up to what I'm seeing or expecting, but still you persist and still you rise and you're there, showing up every day. And, who knows, maybe you'll be the next principal if the opportunity opens up. You've been there long enough, I would say. Why do you think women of color face these kind of challenges to their leadership style and to their personhood?
Well, I think women of color experience or encounter challenges. One, and this was one of the things I actually studied in my doctoral program in my dissertation, because of the patriarchal systems that have already been set in place. And so reading about the history of leadership, not just school leadership, but when you read about leadership and how it was started, it was mostly or majority white male men. And so a lot of challenges come when we come into that space. And there are a lot of stereotypes and there are a lot of microaggressions. And I think that oftentimes women of color are very passionate about their work. And so we can be labeled we're either labeled as we're too soft, we're nurturing, or we're too aggressive, we're too assertive, we're difficult. And so in those spaces, it's challenging because, and it's not just me because I've experienced it as well, but I've heard it from so many other Black women that they have to code switch.
Yes.
And I've been told so many times, I actually wrote about this on my Instagram, about playing the game. And I literally said, I'm tired of playing the game and I'm not going to play the game because it's exactly what it says, a game, and it's not authentic. And I want to show up as my most authentic self. And so I think a lot of the challenges come with lack of support. Yes. And what I love to see now is that organizations like Be Well, and all these other organizations that are out there, there's too many to name, but they have support systems where we're uplifting Black women in leadership spaces, not just in education, but in all avenues. So for me, I've never had a mentor. I've never had someone to take me under their wings and say, okay, as a young school leader, this is how it goes, or this is how it's supposed to be. I found myself always learning everything on my own, which is challenging sometimes because it brings me to imposter syndrome. Like, do I deserve to be in this space? Because I didn't have a mentor. So again, support, mentorship, and those microaggressions, all of those things are a lot of the challenges that we deal with as women of color. Yeah.
Right. I certainly agree. Absolutely. And it's crazy that in 2026, we're still all very much looking for mentors, and we have that strong desire for mentors that look like us to pour into us. And so small tangent from our questions, but is there someone that you're able to look up to now? Like maybe from the author list we're talking with now, is there someone you might want to pull aside for an informational interview to be a mentor? Because I think we all want that, because I can already imagine you're mentoring other people, but has someone caught your eye of recent that you're like, maybe I can reach out to them?
Yeah, they have. Actually, from the author list, you're one of them, actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
and I don't know if I should call her name on here, but there's one other author in the group that I've been reading her things on LinkedIn, and I really love the work that she does. And so I am considering reaching out to her. One of the things that me and my friend recently talked about on voice note, because she's in the US and I'm here, so we just sent a lot of voice notes, is just bet on yourself. She was telling me how she just walked up to someone at a district meeting and she was afraid, but she said, I'm just going to go for it and ask them. And so we have to just take a chance and either, what can they say? Yes or no, right? So I am looking for a mentor in this leadership space that I continue to grow. So yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah. I say reach out, and your friend is right. Like, what's the worst they can do is say no. And that's what I figured too, is like, well, the no kind of hurts, but at least I'm not wondering, like, could it have been a yes at some point?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I talked about that in my chapters, like finding a good mentor. It's been like elusive of sort. It's like, man, there's only so many of us Black women in this educational space. There's got to be a few that want to pour into us. So if not, we do it for the next generation, I suppose.
Exactly.
Now, I'm just very curious. How did you get to Dubai? And so is this part of the career pivot that you took or the risks that you bet on yourself? What can you share with readers or listeners about a time you took a career risk or a bet on yourself, as you mentioned before?
Okay. I'll share about how I got here. That's always a topic that everyone's interested in knowing. This was never on my bingo card ever, but I always had a passion to travel, just didn't know how it would happen. I'm from a rural small town in South Carolina. And so this has been just a lot of favor and grace, but literally I read a newspaper article about thousands of teachers that had arrived in Abu Dhabi, and I reposted it to my Facebook and I said, I've always thought about doing something like this. And everybody was commenting on my post saying, you should do it. I could see you join this. And I was just reading the comments and like, maybe I should do it. So I started researching it and I applied. Literally interviewed February 18th. My birthday was literally the next day, February 19th. And I was like, this is my kind of gift to myself to bet on myself with this. And then in March, I was literally driving home from school after teaching all day. And email came through on my phone and it said I had, been accepted, got the job. And so I didn't tell my parents or anything. I didn't tell them until I got the job. And I packed everything I packed what I could in 4 suitcases.
Yeah.
Moved here. Yeah. My whole life in 4 suitcases. So yeah.
Wow. 4 suitcases, but you got so much more now. So
it's been an experience. And I believe you asked me about pivoting, right? So actually, listeners who may hear this might be quite shocked. I am considering pivoting out of school leadership. Surprise, surprise. So when people hear this, they're going to probably be shocked, but I am considering pivoting out of leadership into a corporate space. I would say it that way. I love school leadership. I love the impact I've made, and I know that there's so much more I can contribute, but I feel that there's a lot more in me than being in the 4 walls of the school every day. And that's my truth. And so I've always wanted to do my own education consulting business. And I'm actually doing some coaching right now. I've been doing coaching since December on how to navigate in the corporate world and get into that space. And
I love this.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm still in school leadership.
That's good. I love that. That's so affirming because I need to hear too of like what's next beyond what we kind of reached so far in our careers. And I love that you're thinking about consulting and taking baby steps to like really lean into it, because who says we have to stay here forever? Boomers did it. That's really great for them, our parents. Glad you stayed in those roles for so many years, but I think millennials, we have room to grow. We're fluid in our careers. And so I encourage you to take that jump, and I might not be far behind you. So pivot away.
And being an author, I want to write more books as well. So that's always been my passion, to write books. So I need to get into that space.
Yes. So were you an English major as an undergrad? Or just one?
I was elementary education, but I always loved to write. I'm almost like a hoarder. Like if I go back to my parents' house, I have still like the Lieutenant Governor's Award sticker on my little journal that I won, for the writing. And so I've always liked to write. And I want to write a children's book. And I just want to write other motivational books. And I'm considering writing on the Bible app and those things. So I won't give it all away, but I have a couple of things that I want to do. Yeah.
It's good. I love it. I'm glad you got your hand in a couple of things. And if it comes natural, then it means it was God-given, right? So you lean into it. Let's see. What advice would you give other multi-hyphenated leaders on balancing life, work, and personal growth? You shared a little bit by considering the pivot, but what more can you tell?
I would honestly say release the pressure that you feel to be everything for everyone. I actually just came out of a tough season of burnout. Like literally all December, I had to heal my burnout. And I'm still reading this book called Disrupting Burnout by Dr. Patrice Jackson. Shout out to her if she ever hears this podcast. But it's a wonderful book. And it talks about just really knowing that, okay, you're from, like, she wrote in the book where she's from, and she said, I'm from this place, but I'm not this place. So even going back to your childhood, and so I'm from a small town named Lane, Lane. And so I wrote on a sticky note when I read this, I'm from Lane, but I'm not Lane. And that doesn't mean that Lane is a bad place, but it's, you grow and you experience life and all the things. And so this book has really been helping me process the heart work, is what she calls it. Okay. And so just from that, like, I learned, like, just release all the pressure to be everything for everybody, release that pressure to stay in that one career. You're not limited to just being a school leader. And so that's why I'm considering a pivot. So release some pressure. Another thing is rest is productive. Mm-hmm. For the life of me, I don't know how to take a nap. I cannot take a nap. I literally feel, and I have felt, and I've spoken to my therapist about this. I feel lazy if I take a nap. I feel lazy if I go to sleep at any point during the day. And that's something, why do you feel that way? And so going back to Dr. Patrice's book, Disrupting Burnout, but she was talking about, what is your definition of work? And where did that start? And I journaled about that. And it made me think about my father and how he works to provide. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Like, he wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's how he shows up. Like, love, like, his definition of love is like providing. And you find a lot of, like, parents from, old school parents, that's how they show love through work. And so my dad is the same way as myself. And I didn't realize that until I got older. I don't know how to take a nap. I don't know how to rest. And so learning how to rest is just so important. Rest is productive. So rest. It is. And then the last one, I have 3. Just maintaining your boundaries. Boundaries are so important. And I don't think people realize that boundaries are a leadership skill. One thing I struggled with was, having crucial conversations with staff members when I first became a school leader. But I learned the power of crucial conversations through a book that's actually called that. Yeah. And just how it's important to let people know, okay, these are my boundaries. You don't have to explain why. You don't have to tell them why. But, it's important to maintain those, because if you don't have any boundaries, then you're going to be worn out. You're going to be tired. So a lot of times with boundaries, either people get it or they don't. Mm-hmm. And so I'm at that point now, like, the older I get, the more I grow. Either they're going to be committed to understanding me, or they're just going to misunderstand me. We have people like that. So whether you're called to be a wife, whether you're called to be a mom, a principal, or whatever it is, just know that you're qualified to do that job, and know that maintain your boundaries. Rest is productive. Mm-hmm. And release that pressure to be everything to everyone, because you can't. We talk about work-life balance, but there's no such thing as work-life balance. You have to prioritize what's important.
You do. Ooh, thank you for those 3 points. That's amazing. And I have 2 of those books that you have. I just have not opened up Dr. Patrice's book, but I listened to her podcast.
This is my second time reading it, but my first time reading it through.
Okay. Intentionally,
because I really needed it for the month of December after a very rough first term of the school year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you already had that in your back pocket. You had the medicine you needed for the season. So, and I have to find my Crucial Conversations book. So, look at you giving us good tips and advice. I got to circle back. As we kind of wrap up, I do want to give you a little chance to do a PSA about what can we expect in your chapter in the upcoming book.
Okay, so in the upcoming book, I'm talking about my journey through leadership, how I navigated from, where South Carolina to Dubai or the UAE. And I talk a little bit about some of the things I mentioned today with feeling undermined and scrutinized in leadership. And so I kind of write my chapter in a way as, I'm talking to, like, if you would have told me, I started off by saying that if you would have told me that I would have been living overseas, if you would have told me those type of things, I would not have believed you. And so I paint a picture for the reader to kind of walk on this journey with me, and kind of tell them the things that I've experienced in my leadership journey and how I always knew I was a leader, not just by my degrees or, education, academic, those things, but I always thought I was a natural born leader. I always stood out to people in that space. And so I'm just carrying them through that journey of that and how to navigate it. How did I successfully navigate it? But I also talk about cultural and emotional intelligence, because I talk about how you have school leaders, and honestly, some that are your white counterparts, that they don't understand cultural intelligence, especially if they are leading schools internationally. And so I kind of give readers a perspective from someone who is abroad, because I can't speak about being a leader in an American school in the US because I haven't done it. So I'm giving them that perspective as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm like in awe because it's a part of the conversation in education we don't always hear about. We're always so Western focused, but the fact that you've taken kind of this Western expertise and experience and applied it overseas, it's like, well, how can we learn more about it? Especially as many people are considering these contract jobs. How do we learn from kind of your trailblazing to figure out like, all right, don't do that pitfall, but how do we learn to make sure it's successful? And I really do hope you write a book around the cultural and emotional intelligence, because we're only thinking about emotional 101, but like that culture you cultivate as a leader is essential. And how do you get that around others who are just like not willing to buy in? Because I would love to learn from you. I've got an interesting staff member on my team that I think if I thought about cultural intelligence, I might be able to bring them around to this conversation. So yeah, you got more to share. So don't let this chapter be the last. I'm excited for you. Really,
thank you.
Thank you for joining us in the Huddle today. I hope this conversation gave you something to reflect on, whether it's a new way of thinking about your hyphens, a leadership practice you want to try, or simply a reminder that you're not alone in this work. If this episode resonated with you, share with another multi-hyphenated leader in education, invite them to the next staff huddle. Drop a comment, share a story, or send a topic you'd love to hear more about on either my LinkedIn page or on Substack. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Rochelle Smarr, or join me on Substack at HyphenatEdDLeader, where I'm sharing more stories, frameworks, and resources from our conversation with the guest speakers from this series, Voices from the Huddle, that are leading into the season 2 theme of leading from the margins to the center. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps other hyphenated leaders find us and join us in the Huddle conversation. Please note that Voices from the Huddle is an evolving and curated space, and I'm always open to new voices. So if you are a hyphenated leader yourself, or you would like to nominate someone whose perspective belongs in this very huddle, I welcome the opportunity to learn more from your story and be able to share it with the community. So be sure to email me, connect with me through a DM on LinkedIn or a message through the Substack. I'm happy to begin to build the community to recognize and elevate more voices of hyphenated leaders. Let's normalize talking about our experiences, let's support each other, and really build up this hyphenated leader community. So until our next staff huddle, be sure that you continue to lead authentically, keep embracing every hyphen, and have fun as well. So this is the Hyphenate Leader podcast, and I am Dr. Smarr. I will see you at the next staff huddle.